Rising Devils, like my new favorite opening strategy ever. We are here to help you, but we are not here to give false promises. Manage your risk, study hard, and just trade.
Hey, what's up, YouTube traders? This is William from Bearable Traders, and we have a special Talk with Traders, a BBT edition, and we have Thor. Thor is a BBT moderator who is absolutely crushing it beyond belief for most of you, I think, and you're gonna learn some really cool stuff today. So Thor, why don't you take it away and just kind of introduce yourself and where you came from and your trading history really quick, and then we'll get into really what you've been able to accomplish recently.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I certainly appreciate it. It's awesome to be a part of the BBT family, and especially to be one of the newest BBT moderators. It's certainly an honor to be trading with you guys, learning from you guys, now working with you guys. It's definitely awesome.
We're happy to have you, man.
Oh, thanks, man. As you mentioned, my name's Thor. I come from an IT background. Actually did some work on some options trading platforms back in the day and stuff. So I've had a little market exposure, but other than that, not a whole lot. Just kind of a little bit into my history. I know some people already know I have a daughter that has autism, and I have a son as well, and my wife, and we decided to move up to Jacksonville to enroll my daughter in a school that's up here that specializes just in autism. And when we did that, it really caused a necessity for a career change. And I started looking out there, really wandering around, trying to figure out what am I going to do. And then I stumbled upon this guy Andrew's book, and it kind of set the whole thing in motion. And then from there I found you guys in the chat and everything like that. And the rest has been moving forward quite nicely. So.
The rest might be turning into a little bit of a lore, actually. So let's just get into this interesting part. Thor's lore. Let's do it this way.
I like that.
Thor, are you on a 2-week green streak or greater?
I'm going to go with greater.
Okay, what about a 1-month streak? My longest streak, man, is 18 days of green. So are you on a 1-month streak or longer?
A little bit longer than 1 month.
A little bit longer. What about 2 months?
A little bit longer than 2.
All right, Thor, how long is your current green streak?
All right, so I knew I was going to get asked this question. So before we did the interview, I actually went through my logs because I was actually with a different broker the last time I had a red day. And it was back in May, at the beginning of May. It's precisely the 3rd was my last red day. So May 4th was the Green Day proceedings. So I don't know,
4th.
Almost a better part of 5 months.
5 months. If my calculations are correct, that's 163 or 164 days, correct?
Yeah, that's what they say. So it's been really cool. It's not all glitz and glamour, don't get me wrong. A lot of this was when I was coming up through BBT. So and the first couple of months of that is when my target goal days were only $50 to $100 a day. But I've been ramping slowly as I've been gaining confidence. I put together a schedule for increasing my share sizes and increasing my risk and what I'm willing to take in. And as I improved and hit milestones, I would then increase my risk. So I went a couple of months of that is just me making $50 a day, making $100 a day. And then a couple of those days aren't necessarily good days, and we can talk about those. I had a couple of days where they should have been red days, and I ignored my rules, and I traded my way out of them, stubborn, just because I wanted to do that. And I got to be careful with that because that's how I'm going to bite myself in the butt one of these days. We'll do a video of the day Thor lost $2,000 being stubborn. But so far I've been managing to avoid it.
All right, man. So I'm going to play the role that I haven't got to play before because I know you well and I don't think you're going to be offended. I'm going to play the skeptic in this interview, a YouTube hater, someone who doesn't know you, so doesn't believe you, okay?
That's the thumbs down I'm going to get on this video.
Right. So is that okay if I do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, BS, Thor.
BS.
There is no way someone can have a 165-day green streak unless they break their rules, do a bunch of garbage, or flat out lying. So let me ask you, how did you do it?
Well, obviously, I broke my rules.
Right. Only on a couple of days, though, right?
So, yeah, for the most part, not. I'll be honest with you. So, we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? And I say this a lot. When I came in as a fresh, I really want to do trading. I read the books and I came into Bear Bull Traders, and I'm not going to try and narc for Bear Bull Traders too much, even though I'm a moderator and you guys are awesome. But when I came in, honestly, it's the only chat I ever joined. It was the first one I came into, and then I had the pleasure and privilege of watching your videos, Andrew's videos, some risk management stuff, some psychology videos, and all of these different. And I just, for months, I just digested information and just put it in there. And I didn't come out of sim until I was able to reproduce in sim consistently every single day. And I felt, all right, now I have a strategy that works. I think I can do this. And what I know I can do is I can at least make sure I don't lose a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So my goal for trading is not necessarily to make a lot of money. It's just to make sure I don't lose money. And then in the process, I hope to make money. And so I generically only risk $50 or $100 per trade. I'm more than happy to stop out on a trade if it's not going in my direction, which is where I think most people fail. I think they hold their positions and they don't honor their rules. So they stay in the trade longer than they should. And the slippage, all of a sudden they're outside their max goal because they've slipped beyond it. So, and then every now and again, I got a little bit beyond it and broke my rule and got back into it. That did happen a couple of times.
How many times do you think you did that?
Less than 5. I don't know the exact number. I think it was probably like 2 or 3, but I'll give a couple more for grace period.
Do you remember your largest drawdown past your max loss and what that was?
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So my largest day, which was actually my last red day, was $852 negative. So it was a very tough day. It was a prideful day. I actually remember the day, and I think every trader probably needs to have such a day. So a lot of people say, man, I just blew up my account. Man, I'm just so done right now. And I was like, actually, that's probably the day you needed so that you can start taking this seriously. So I blew it up. And then the next day I said, okay, the one thing I'm going to make sure I do is not lose more than $150 a day.
Okay, so let's say you've had between 2 to 5 days where you've gone past max loss. So let me ask you, do you think any of your trades are guaranteed to work out?
No.
All right, so do you believe that each trade has a probability involved in being right or wrong, and maybe it's a higher probability or lower probability based on the setup?
Yeah, 100%.
And any setup can be wrong, right?
Well, yeah.
And you can easily have a string of 3 to 5 setups that failed, and that wouldn't be crazy abnormal, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I generically run like a 1 in 3 hit rate most of the time for me, which is pretty good. But I mean, I've gone 5 without a hit. I've gone down, where you're down 150 or almost $200, and then you hit that one, gets you $400. And then one thing I do a lot, especially if I'm down in the hole like that, and then I hit a good trade that gets me out of the hole, a lot of the times I just stop trading. So, and that kind of helps me out as well. I won't just keep going for daily goal. I'll say I'm out, I'm clear, I've covered commissions, I'm not trading great today, I'm just going to take this one.
Interesting. So then your trades aren't 1R, 2R, 3R winners. If you're still only risking 50 or $100 and it can get you out of the hole, are these, I know you don't always think in R's, but they're what percent of how big are your winners compared to your losers when you do everything right?
So generically, I would say my average winner is around, it gets me, how do I phrase this? So everyone has a style. I consider myself to be a trend scalper. Which trend is like,
okay.
a trend scalper. So I like playing trend plays, but I kind of play similar to Andrew in the fact that I'm willing to take larger positions and scale quickly. So I tend to take a slightly larger position. I'll scale quickly, and then that leaves me 20 or 30% that I then play in the trend to extend further than that. So I'll always lock in $50 or $100 profit. I'm there, I'm locked in, I'm good. And then it leaves me a little bit over that I can mess with.
Right, okay, so why I wanted to interview you to have other traders listen to this and believe it, right? I know you, so I don't need to believe you or not. I already know it's true, but a lot of people won't. So what I'm trying to get at is if you can be wrong 3 to 5 times and you've in a row on any trade setup, and you've only gone past your max loss 2 to 5 times in 165 days, and you're on this green streak, how do you reconcile? How can people reconcile that? How is that possible? How are you doing it? What can traders learn that if if they believe you, if they can take that leap of faith where they don't know you and they trust you, and hopefully they can, right? I interview so many people who lose all their money. I do so many things where I show how hard trading is, how difficult. It's rare that I do something like this because this is what a lot of rooms do, and they try to promote how amazing someone is. And I don't like to do that because trading's hard. Yeah. But you're a story which we can do and share this. So how can people buy into that you have done this? What can they learn from you on how you've overcome this crazy difficult thing that most people have never done and wouldn't think is possible either?
Yeah, I can really see that because, you know, there was part of me that was even like going, man, I don't even know if I want to do this interview because I feel like I'm going to say that and that no one's going to believe me. And if you don't, it's okay. You know, I really gained nothing personally out of coming on here and claiming such things other than, you know, probably people calling BS, which is all fine. It's all good. My wife knows it's true because she sees the paychecks and stuff. But it's for me, it's not all perfect because I do things differently than a lot of people. I don't think in R's. So, and like I said, I don't even know how much money is in my portfolio right now, because I don't worry about that. All I worry about is I have a set amount of money every 2 weeks that I have an auto draft set to pull out of my account to go into my bank account, and that's how I pay myself. My philosophy was always how to day trade for a living, not how to increase my investment portfolio for a living. So the R's instinctively to me even didn't really make a lot of sense because I'm not thinking in that capacity. All I'm thinking about is this a good setup? Can I limit my risk in this setup? And if so, take it. And then let's just extend this how as far as I possibly can. There are times when I have been down 200 and then my next trade gets me out and I make $250, $300 on the trade. And like I said, I just cut and run. I just need to make sure I don't lose more than an acceptable amount of money for me. And if I do lose, I really don't care. Like I don't want this to sound weird, but like, you know, I'm doing all right. I'm up a little bit, so the stress is a little bit off. And I think it's kind of one of those perpetuating things that without the stress of, like, I could have a week's worth of red days right now. I don't think it would change anything for me, you know. Mm-hmm. So once you get to a certain point and you get comfortable with the psychology of the risk, then it's really just about managing the risk. And I got you guys a lot to thank for that. I mean, like I said, the hard work and what was hard about trading, when I got in, I spent the first 3 months to 4 months just hammering sim all day, bad trades, good trades. I intentionally had blow up days where I would just trade my account like crazy so I could see what minus $10,000 looked like. You know, I just got it all out of my system, like playing a crazy video game. And then I put in rules and just started saying, I need to make $50 a day. How do you make $50 a day? Okay, I can do 50. Now can I make 100? And then once you can make $100 a day, you can just about do, you know, if you can consistently make $100 a day, I think you can consistently trade for a living, because at that point your setups are working. It's just about scaling.
You said something really interesting, Thor, that I want you to go a little deeper. And it sounded like you weren't thinking about the money whatsoever. You were thinking about, is this a good setup, and can I manage my risk to keep my losers small? Every time. So was the money, of course that's what you're here for, but was that not what you were thinking when you were entering the trade? Was it just, is this a good setup and can I manage my risk?
Right. Yeah.
Now, where did you learn that though? Because that's not what traders do. Traders come into this to say, how can I make a lot of money? And you're doing the exact opposite, which is actually the real way to be successful. So how did you figure that out?
So I've always been a person with very reasonable outlooks on things, you know, very realistic concepts. Like when I went to IT and I came out of IT and my first job was making $12 or $13 an hour, even though I had a degree. You know, I was pretty realistic though. I knew when I went in that it was going to start there and I was going to have to climb my way up. And it took me, you know, a decade in the IT field before I was making any reasonable amount of money. Mm-hmm. And then when I came into trading, I just thought, you know, if I can only make this much money a day, you know, let's call it $200 a day or $300 a day, then that's all the money I really need to support myself and to support my family. Mm-hmm. Then that should be the goal. So I always had very, I've never been I want to become a trader so I can own a Porsche. I wanted flexibility and consistency in my schedule. And I'm always been a very literal person, especially when it comes to literature and stuff. And when I read Andrew's book, especially, it said right in there, it was just like, this is not for everybody. This is a hard thing to do. But if you can do these things, and it was basically manage your risk, and a few other things, it was like, you have the ability to be successful. And I was like, all right, that's what I'm going to go for. And like I said, I simmed out crazy for months and then went live and had a couple of blow up days. And then it was when that happened that I was like, you know what? It's about the risk. I had the support of the community is what got me the rest of the steps. So, and I'm not saying it necessarily has to be BBT, but if you're trading on your own and the only resource that you have are books and stuff like that, it's not where it's going to be. I got into BBT. I found a family of traders there that were very, very helpful, like crazy bend over backwards helpful. Any question I had, there was one of you guys, even Andrew himself would reply to an email. If I sent him an email asking him a question about something, and I was just like, man, this is just a different environment. And then it was so inspirational, and seeing this and just picking every single one of you guys of the moderators and saying, this works for A-Dog here. I'm like, all right, this works for Peter over here. This is working for Andrew here. Maybe if I take all three of these and smush them together, this will work for me. And that's basically what I have. I have I use a lot of your strategies. I use a lot of Peter's strategies for grabbing tops and bottoms. And, I use Brian's Rising Devil. It's like my new favorite opening strategy ever. Right. And if I ever go to the same meetup as him, I owe him drinks because, I do, because he's made me money with that strategy. I've pilfered knowledge from every single one of you guys and just sandwiched it together and put it on the plate. And I really think it's an example of, obviously I'm my own person, but it's an example of, if you take all of these different things that BBT talks about, the psychology, the risk management, the setups, learn how to read the level 2 and the tape, because I think people don't spend any time doing that. And for me, it's like one of the most critical skills there are. So it's being really comfortable with reading the market and what's really coming across. And you combine a couple of those things. And like I said, as long as you only have a goal of, man, I just need to make $100, maybe $300 a day, you can get real reasonable real quick. It's when you're saying, man, I need $1,200 today. I need $2,000. That's a lot of shares. That's a lot of pressure, right. And it gets a lot harder at those levels, but it's doable.
Yeah, so when I see new guys like you and Eamon and some other guys who are doing really well, and you come in kind of fresh, it does make me really jealous, I gotta say. I started out in my trading career everything wrong, by myself. First trade made $2,000. First trade I ever take, it wasn't sim, it was real, and I just lost all my money after that. Yeah. I jumped around from community to community. I read a bunch of books. I was really just on my own. Trading without a support network, without a community, is very, very difficult. And then someone like Thor, he comes in, and right, Thor, you do about everything the most boring but correct way. You trade in sim for 3 to 4 months, right? Yeah. Boring. No one wants to do that. You don't want to get rich. You don't want to get rich quick. So boring. No one wants to do that, right? It's so hard. Then you try to pick and choose all of these different things, which takes time to incorporate into your own style. That's not exciting, right? You just want to follow Andrew, follow this, do that. You did everything right. And you had patience, and then you did everything right with a very small risk. And then you did everything right with a small risk, and you didn't even care about making money. It's like each step along the way, man, you did right. So I want to ask, could you have ever accomplished that without a community?
Absolutely not. Because the thing is traders need mentors. And I think a lot of people don't understand. It's like any career or any job. You don't become a doctor by picking up a book. You learn all the facts about being a doctor from picking up the book. You learn where the muscles are. You learn all that, but you don't learn that insider knowledge, that stuff that you only get the feel for, that you only get when you intern and you actually get in there and you do it. And, trading is not anywhere near doctoral level. Don't get me wrong, but it is a trade. It's a skill, and it's a skill that, I believe it can be taught. And what I felt like, even I didn't necessarily have a specific mentor, but everybody in BBT was basically my mentor. It's like I had a question. I'm like, I don't know. My risk management stinks. Oh man, I need some hotkeys.
Mm.
What do I do with it? I say, I need some hotkeys. I throw out there. I got 3 emails from people in BBT saying, hey, here's my favorite hotkey layouts. I mean, just like, wow, it's incredible. But everyone is feeding each other that. I mean, I spent, I think 30 minutes the other night just responding to emails from traders that were writing me in, and I feel like I'm just returning the favor at this point, with all the guys, because that's what all y'all guys did for me. And it's like, and I had Eamon, Thomas, and JD especially, all pooling knowledge together. All right, well, this isn't working. I mean, I can't tell you how many trades I've taken where I'm not the one finding the trade. I've had Eamon call. I owe Eamon drinks, I owe Thomas drinks, and I owe JD drinks, because anytime someone gets me a solid winning trade, I tell them I owe them drinks. I've had so many times where, Thomas has been, hey man, I really like this setup. I flip over, I'm like, oh man, awesome, boom, I'm in. So having the prop traders, all of these big guys, none of them are out there doing it by themselves. Right. So to think that we as people, just as humans here, have the ability to come in and magically do something, the professionals, the big guys, expecting we can do something that they can't do, not so much. I came in and I really loved the attitude of BBT, which is we are here to help you, but we are not here to give false promises. Every time we stepped to the way, it was always keep this straight or you're going to lose a ton of it. It was never, oh, if you come in here and you try to do my strategy and you do it this way, I guarantee you that you're going to make X amount of dollars today. It was actually quite the opposite. Like, are you sure you want to do this? Because there's a good chance you might lose a bunch of your money, And it was that realism that really hooked me on BBT. And then the rest, I mean, it's the BBT family is strong. Let's just say that they're all great people and working real hard to try and elevate the community. So it's just crazy to be there sometimes.
Yeah, man. So I know I asked you for before, if maybe you could bring top 3 tips, something executable that has helped you more than anything else, whether it's super simple and obvious or something that you found to help you that a lot of people wouldn't think about. Can you kind of provide people with maybe your top 2 to 5, whatever you got, that people can learn from and try to instill, and maybe they'll only pick half of one of them to instill in their trading, just like you picked and choose and
absolutely
gathered it from all different resources. Do you have a couple things like that you can share with people?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll kind of go with like I've kind of had some aha moments in trading, like where I've been trying to elevate myself, and then I kind of hit a wall, and then I go, what, all right, I can make $100. Why am I not able to make 150? And I had times when I was coming up where I was making 100, and then I tried to scale to 150, and then I had like 3 or 4 $50 days in a row, and I was like, all right, something's wrong here with my scaling. Something's not going on right, because I'm trying to excel, but I'm falling backwards, right? And I'd pull everything back, and I'd spend another week at just $100 trying to figure out exactly where I'm falling short. So one of the aha moments, and the biggest one, and I kind of mentioned it before. One thing that I really look at a lot is the tape and the level 2. I think a lot of people look at it and they see it as this very basic instrument, and then they kind of ignore it for the charts and the patterns. So what I try to tell everybody, or kind of explain, I know Kurt actually talked about this on his last fireside chat, which is the level 2 is the only thing on your screen that's actually happening in real time. Everything else that's going on otherwise is all in the past, right? Even the tape is prints that have already happened. Charts, MAs, all of that stuff is all being calculated that happened on stuff in the past. The only thing that's going on right now is you can see where the bids and where the asks are and make some decisions based upon that information. Now, they can trick you, they can fool you with it. I did a trade on today where some seller obviously came in and wicked the price and stopped me out, and I had to get back in. It was very not polite, but it happens. But once you get comfortable with reading the tape and the level 2, and you can really see it. I mean, I spent days just staring at the level 2 without even taking trades. I was sitting there taking trades in my brain saying, okay, I'm looking at it right now. I think it's going to go up. And then I would look at the price, and then it would go up, and I'd say, okay, this is why I think it did that. And I did that for days, just trying to really burn into my brain, how can I read the tape in the level 2? And then after that, so that's number 1 is it seems like a basic skill, but it's not. It's huge. Number two is building an actual playbook. And this took me a while to
Right.
buy onto. So I would try and trade charts and patterns, and that is very cool and it does work. But what's more interesting and a little bit more fun, get a little like American football with it, which is to start saying, okay, well, if I have a stock that's descending pre-market, but then starts to increase going into the open, I'm looking for this kind of a play, maybe like, Brian's Rising Devil or something. If it comes up to this level, I'm going to look to go short. I'm going to have to use a limit order because it's on short selling restriction, so I can get it on the uptick. And then I'm hoping to cover at this level, and this level. And then have all of that ready before the trade even starts. Because what happens is if it doesn't do what your play you want it to do, don't take the trade. You had a specific play in mind. This is what I wanted to do. If it does this, then I'm going to do this, this, and this. And if it doesn't, don't, move on. So, but building a playbook and actually following the plays, like a good football team executes and gets to the end zone. Sometimes it's good just to let the quarterback throw a Hail Mary, and that works every now and again. But most of the time, it's the running back that's just grinding 5 yards at a time that's getting you into the end zone. So, and that's my view on trading is I'm just looking to limit the backward motion so that I can always just keep pressing forward until I get to my goal, which, is generically pretty reasonable.
We've got study the level 2. We've got make a playbook, right? Really actually write it down. And do you have a third one that you can share with people? Because those two are not actually the most common, right? You're not just saying respect your stops, have rules. These are very specific things that people who maybe have always thought about having a playbook but never written it down. Or they've glanced at level 2 but they've really never understood it or researched it. So these are good, Thor. You have a third one.
Yeah. Third, I've got a couple more. Third one, which I also think is really important, is just focus on the trade. I think a lot of people get overwhelmed with focusing on how much they can get out of the trade. I just really focus on the setup of the trade. Is it a good setup? Once you're in, good trades are good trades. I mean, if you took the right risk and the right share size based upon your risk, then if it moves in your right direction, you should get to your profit target. So for me, I'm always kind of managing the setup of the trade and worrying less about what's going to happen afterwards. And if it goes against me and I stop out, that's just part of the trade. It's no big deal. I'm not upset about it. I don't get mad if I lose $50. I assume I'm going to lose $50 most of the time because that's kind of how this works. Like any other, system that works in this fashion, you're given a little to hopefully get a lot. And it's just about managing that risk. So for me, it's not necessarily getting too obsessed with, man, I got 50R today. This is amazing. It's how did you feel about your trades today? That's what I'm looking for at the end of the day. When I get off of my computer, I've had days where I've made $200 that day and I hated myself for it because when I walked away from it, I was like, it was luck. And then, you have someone, hey, can you do a recap on that? I'm like, no, I can't, because I just don't feel right about this because it's a good looking trade. I guess I could get on there and say, yeah, I hated myself for this trade, but look, it worked and I made money and people can be mad at me for that. Yeah. But it's, for me, I want to feel good about, and one of my qualifiers on my trade journal at the bottom of my trade journal is how did you feel? Because at the end of every trade, and when I want to research my trades, I go through my journal and I specifically look for ones when it says, how did you feel? And it says bad, or it says, didn't like something. Oh, didn't hold my risk, bad, didn't hold my risk. And those are the ones I really focus on, or which ones made me feel like I didn't accomplish what I was trying to accomplish regardless of profit. And I think if you can focus on the trade and and how you felt getting in and out of that trade, the rest seemed to fall in place for me a little bit more.
Yeah, but I don't think you can do that without a solid playbook, right? Really hard to do because you don't have confidence without your playbook.
Right. It's all thing. That's the thing. It's a picture. Being a trader is a picture, and none of it happens overnight. And that's like you said, having the patience to really go through the process and really, say, Andrew. I think Andrew puts in his book, it takes a lot of people like a year, to even 2 years. I don't know if it's in the book. I definitely know we talk about it a lot in the room, but it takes a lot of people a year to 2 years to be consistently profitable. And I spent well over 3 months, to even a little bit north of that before I was even comfortable getting live in the market. And then I spent months just trading very small shares just to get comfortable with the way the whole process works.
Right.
You know, so, and that's the other thing I would say. Last tip, don't be in a rush. You know, becoming a trader, like any other profession, is gonna take time, and having unreasonable expectations will cause you to fail. That's all there is to it. You're gonna overtrade. You're gonna trade too much. You're not gonna. I could go on for 10 hours on the amount of mistakes you're going to make. Getting to an Andrew level of trading, doesn't happen overnight, and for most of us will not happen. Okay, but realize that you are in a world where there are, kings and there are paupers, and in this world, are we not happy just to be one of the paupers? I certainly am. I mean, imagine if you got to making $300 or $500 dollars on average a day. That's north of 6 figures US every single year. If you can't to have a comfortable life from there, maybe you just need to make some life adjustments. I don't know. But I mean, if you have reasonable expectations and have true goals for getting into it, and and a lot of it is just, I think part of the reason I kind of did well with BBT is the genuineness of the chat and the genuineness of my coming into the process. I came into it very open. I came into it saying, I want to learn how to do this. I don't know anything about this. I'm going to look to these people, and I'm just going to take what they say at face value and try it for myself. And that's what I would do. Don't do this. If you do this, you're going to lose money. Try myself. Yep. Lost money. And it's really taking that. If you can get into a strong community that can really support you the way the community that I'm in does, it's an edge. It's a straight edge for sure.
Well, thank you so much for coming on here, sharing some tips, sharing your story, letting me play devil's advocate for just a quick second there. And I'll let you end it, man. You can have the final word here.
Cool. Hey, everyone in the BBT family. Hey, from me to you guys, it's great being a moderator and getting to talk with all you guys daily and help out and just be a part of the group. And I'm happy to give back. It's a unique opportunity for all of us to kind of get to have the freedom that we want to have in our lives. But freedom doesn't come without effort, work, structure, and focus. And if you can get into a good supportive group and you can just stay focused and just trade a lot, whether it's in sim, whether it's small shares, just trade. Like driving a car. When you were 16 years old, driving a car was the scariest thing you've ever done in your life. But now you're 40 and you're just swerving through traffic. You don't even care. The difference is just taking the time to feel comfortable looking at the car in front of you and saying, it's a turn signal. They're about to turn left. Well, guess what? There could be a point in time, depending on you and how much work you put in, where you look at the market. And it's what I say about Andrew. It's like watching someone driving a car. He just sees the market turn and he goes because he's comfortable, because the guy has shot thousands upon thousands of trades into the market. And if you want to get to that level, you just got to trade. So, manage your risk, study hard, and just trade, and you'll get there.
Cool. Thanks for the words of encouragement, Thor. And I will see you tomorrow in the chat.
Oh, yeah, man. Sharp. BBT. Catch the morning preview. Get in there. Pre-market show.
All right. Thank you, man.